For me, I'll go just number one, as Kyle and Derek and I and even Bree, we've all said it this entire time. The first thing for me was just simply, and I'll address this too, because last time we talked about this, you guys talked about it the week I was off, and the week before, someone said, Devon, why are you always making it about yourself? It's not me making it about myself. It's me talking about my city, from where I'm from, for what I'm used to. Things change in your city. Things change in your area. Even if you move outside of the area into different counties and suburbs and all, the city is still, it's my city. I'm proud of the city. There are things that goes on in every city where you can worry about so many different things. So when I say for me, it's because me living in this city for as long as I have, I've seen a lot of things and a lot of changes. And one thing that I've pointed out is the change downtown, Center City, and specifically on Market Street. It has changed dramatically, where it is no longer the Center City, the Market Street that I am familiar with, that I am used to. And while I may be older and I may not be hanging downtown or hanging on South Street or going to the gallery after school anymore like I used to, I would still go take my daughters down to downtown, walk the streets and look at the stores, go to the mall and things like that. And there's just not a lot of things going on anymore down there. And so when I say it again, the fact that they have come to this agreement based on what the mayor has said, and they are going to remain the Philadelphia 76ers and not worrying about it being entitled only because they are just across the bridge that are only 10 miles away.
We don't want to be like New York, man.
We're not doing that. No, they are the Philadelphia 76ers, and they are that for a good reason. So I appreciate her saying that. The other part where she talked about the hundreds and hundreds of jobs, that then transitions to the part for me, again, where yes, this city needs more jobs. People need more jobs. And this is going to allow for not just the arena itself, for the people who are working in the arena, it's working in the surrounding parts of the arena where all of these other things may start to open up. And the boon is going to be there for this to start just happening once again, where it's going to be live. It's going to be vibrant down there. And there are going to be so many job opportunities for so many different people, both in the arena and the surrounding parts of the arena. And that is something for me that, again, I like to see, because I want to see everybody be able to thrive, to do what they want to do, to live a happy and healthy and safe and comfortable life for what they are doing. And it's going to be very, very, very good for those people who may be struggling to have a job, find things, making money overall, Derek, to just be able to have those different opportunities to be there and present it to them.
Yeah. And I think, there's a whole bunch. We've done so many shows on this, way more than I think I've ever expected to talk about an arena proposal. But the impact of the jobs and what it will create, the uncertainty over, Chinatown, even if that arena wasn't there, I do think from an economic standpoint, it was pretty cut and dry. And that's what we said on our last show. Yep. Obviously, there is a much bigger, in terms of displacement and interruption of that culture and that community is a huge concern. But when you saw Camden making that push, when you saw the job growth and the economic impact reports, it just seemed like the city wasn't going to let this get away from them. And they ended up tying it up pretty quickly. Not tied up. It still has to go before city council and all that. But the mayor getting behind it and working towards putting the plan and bring it towards city council, it just felt like that was going to happen.
Yeah. So I feel like I've been our de facto arena guy, because I went through and I read the 300 whatever pages of that, the impact study that was put out. I watched 3.5 hours of town hall meeting, more like 3. The first half hour was waiting for people to get in, and then they were listening to Frankie Beverly, which, by the way, I don't know if we ever brought up on this show. Rest in peace to Frankie Beverly, Philadelphia legend. That had happened the same day as that town hall. And I'm glad that you brought up, and that you sort of hit on, Devon, the Market Street component for, other generations of not just Philadelphians, but surrounding area, people who, like myself. I grew up in the suburbs. I live here now, but I would come into the city Christmas time, Thanksgiving, all different times of the year. And that corridor was a big, thriving, frankly, touristy place that you get lots of people coming in on the regional rail, lots of people coming into, and all the department stores are there, all the surrounding venues and things are there. And it's very clearly a shell of itself now. And Mayor Parker at this town hall spoke glowingly of that time in the past where she could go there and wanted to go there. And the moment that it became clear to me that this was going to get done, I know I've hammered on this show, on Twitter and everywhere else, that I thought that the jobs impact and the financials of this would ultimately win the day for a mayor that has lots of union support and a union town. Like, that's not something to turn your nose up at. $1 billion+ investment, hundreds of jobs, all that. But when she kicked off the town hall last week, Mayor Parker laid out some ground rules for the people in the room and said, look, this is going to be a civil discussion. I invited everyone here so that we can hear from you. And so everyone can, weigh in on, hey, I'm an Asian American immigrant and this is how it would impact my life. I'm a union worker and this is how it would impact my life and my family's lives in the future, and hearing all those perspectives, but doing so respectfully. And she, by the end of that town hall, was not happy with the general tone of what took place. And a lot of that was the Chinatown, or I should say the anti-arena folk, because they're not all, it's not all Chinatown. There are anti-arena people throughout the city for various reasons. The anti-arena people, when the unions and the pro-arena folks started to speak, were yelling and cursing. I mean, there was a preacher who spoke on behalf of the African American Chamber of Commerce in Philadelphia and was being cursed at, called names I won't repeat on this show. And there were several interruptions where the mayor stepped in and was like, we will have you removed from the premises. And so if at that point if it was like a 50-50, like, hey, you could sway the mayor one way or another, I think that's where she might have seen, or people around her would have seen, one side is just trying to say, this is our position, this is our platform, and we stand on it. The other side is trying to tear them down for saying, look, these are blue collar, hardworking people. Also, by the way, people of color in many instances who are leading the electricians, the carpenters, and all that. Mm-hmm. And they're being shouted down rather than, you can have a disagreement on this. We've said on this show, I believe if you are the type of person who thinks the Chinatown part of this conversation makes it a non-starter, I can get with you on that. I can see your perspective. What I'm not going to do is then go to people who are going to have jobs created by this, whose families' lives depend on this type of project, and shout them down. So I think that was an important component in all this from what I could tell. My hope is that this is not just like, the conversation can't just be about the arena, right? Like, this is the first and the biggest step. But what happens after that? I think if you're being pragmatic, which is what I believe in these circumstances, my hope is that the people from Chinatown can maybe get some more in the community benefits agreement and work with the Sixers on, like, how can we make this so you are good neighbors to us and vice versa? How can we make this the most impactful project it can be for Market East, for Wash Square West, for Chinatown? There are ways to go about that, right? Like, I know one example that there is going to be for Black-owned businesses, there is already a set percentage of vendors in the new arena that they will be Black-owned businesses, and the Sixers are committed to initiatives of that nature. Can Chinatown get some similar assurances on top of the affordable housing I know they're asking for? How do you assuage parking concerns? Like, there are dozens and dozens of different things. But I think now that this is a reality, now that the mayor is putting her weight behind it, everyone is going to have to come together to some degree and say, how do we work on this so that it does become, sort of a unifying place for people of all these different communities in that area?
Yeah, and with that, if I remember correctly, when they first started this, and to your point of having people already set to have, let's just say, some restaurants or vending areas in the building, some of the conversation early on was the same for the Chinatown folks, to have some of their restaurants to come over as vendors in the building as well. Will that happen? As Kyle said, we'll find out, but that's a start. And that's a small piece.
It's a very small piece.
But it's just, again, reaching out and saying, hey, let's do this part together, and continue to reach out to do the other things that are happening. The housing part is huge in the Chinatown area, as you mentioned. So I understand that piece. And if that is something that the city and all can work together to figure that part out, that would be fantastic for them. And no one's trying to uproot them and get them out. Yeah, it's going to be busier down there. But, I mean, all busy isn't bad. And, it's a lot of good stuff coming in with the jobs and the money that would be the economic piece that comes into it, running through not just that part, but moving back again to the Chinatown area. It should be beneficial for everybody, and that's what we're all trying to figure out. Great to see everybody talking about it in the chat. Seems like a lot of people like it. We have a super chat. We'll get to that one a little bit later. Give more thoughts on what the mayor had to say about this agreement. Again, the breaking news, Mayor Cherelle Parker stating that she has come to an agreement with the organization, the Philadelphia 76ers, that they will remain in the area. Market Street for her is a go, and she is going to push this to the rest of City Council.
We all silly like the mayor.